Good afternoon, dear students. In today's class, we will start Unit 8, Human Rights. And just notice that I am starting from Lesson 4 of the unit Human Rights. And the title of Lesson 4 is Amerigo, a Street Child. Now, the reason why I am skipping the first three lessons is that the first three lessons are basically focused on ideas which are not that much important for our analysis. So that is the reason I am straight going to lesson number 4. And in lesson number 4, the title of which is Amerigo, a Street Child, you just start reading the passage, the lesson. The lesson starts with the sentence, my name is Amerigo. Remember that we are reading the unit Human Rights, and human rights is also important as a paragraph as well. In my previous class, I told you one thing, that when we will start or when we will read English first paper, remember the units, the title of the units is very important. The title of the lessons is also very important. Why the titles are important? The reason is that in first paper, when you are asked to write the paragraphs are basically linked with the different lessons and different units of the text. So human rights is also important as a paragraph, and you will develop your ideas regarding human rights as a paragraph when I will explain these lessons. So we are starting lesson number 4, of unit 8. The first sentence is, my name is Amerigo. So it's written in first person narrative. That means someone, the speaker himself is talking about his own experience, and he is saying that my name is Amerigo. That means the name of the boy or the child is Amerigo, and he is speaking about himself. He also says that I am 13 years old and I live on the street. So Amerigo is the child, or he is the boy, and he is 13 years old and he lives on the street. Remember, we are reading human rights. So naturally you can expect that something which we are reading is linked with human rights. You know what is human rights? Human rights is basically those rights which human beings are expected to enjoy in this world. Every country, every state wants to ensure human rights to the people, and children have also got their rights, So in this particular passage, you will see that how the rights of a child is violated, how the society fails to ensure the rights of children. So Amerigo is a child, he's a boy of 13 years old, and he says that he lives on the street. So we can gaze from the very first sentence or the first two sentences that we are going to have some ideas about a child or about a boy whose situation is, or whose condition is not good. He is 13 years old and he lives on the street. Definitely he doesn't have any dwelling place, he doesn't have any house to live in, alone. So his parents are not also with him. My mother, he continues, who is separated from my father, doesn't want me. So Amerigo's mother is also separated from his father. So his parents don't live together, they are separated from each other. So his mother is living separately, and his mother doesn't also want him. That means she is unwilling to have her child with her. So this is very tragic for a child, and you can easily understand that how much pains and sufferings Amerigo has in his heart, in his mind. So what did his mother say? She told me to go away. Not only that, the mother is unwilling to take the child. Apart from her unwillingness, she is also harsh, and she has said that she doesn't want her child. She told me to go away, and she asked Amerigo to go away, not to stay with her. Now she is married to another man. So this is again very significant, that Amerigo's mother is staying with another person, another man. So the first tragedy of Amerigo's life is that his parents are separated, and the second tragedy that his mother is living separately, obviously, and she is unwilling to take Amerigo, and moreover, she is living with another man. So there is no opportunity, there is no chance for Amerigo to have any access in her mother's, in his mother's residence. My father lives very far away, and his father also lives far away from Amerigo. So mother is also living away from Amerigo. The father is also living far away from Amerigo. I want to go to him. Amerigo sometimes wants to go to his father, but he won't take me either. But the father, like the mother, is also unwilling to take the child, and he doesn't want to bear any responsibility of the child. And Amerigo is telling all these things with a heavy heart. And he also continues, I begged him to send me some money so that I could buy a bus ticket. So Amerigo tells us that he requested his father to send him some money so that he could buy bus ticket and go to his father. And you can easily understand the eagerness of the son, the eagerness of the child to get united with the parents, at least either with the father or with the mother. But the problem is, and the tragedy is, that neither the mother nor the father is willing to take this child. So Amerigo requested his father to send him some money so that he could buy a bus ticket and he could go to his father to meet him. I am still waiting. He has not answered. So how pathetic it is that he wrote to his father, he requested his father to send money, but the father declined and the father didn't respond. And Amerigo says that I am still waiting, he has not answered. So after sending the letter, Amerigo is still waiting for his father's response, but unfortunately the father doesn't respond and he has not replied to Amerigo's request so far. And if we go further regarding Amerigo's present state, we can see that he says the streets are now my home. So since the father doesn't want him, since the mother also doesn't want him, so the street has become the address for Amerigo. And that's exactly what he is saying, the streets are now my home. So he is shelterless and definitely, consequently, he is living on the street. Sometimes I find work. So this is not the end of Amerigo's tragedy, that the parents are unwilling to take him or to accept him. Further, we notice that Amerigo doesn't find any work. So, you know, that child labor is also present in this passage. Child labor is discouraged everywhere, and it is a violation of human rights, child rights, or children's rights. So the title, when I started this lesson, I told you the title of this unit is human rights. So in this particular lesson, we will see that the rights of children are also violated in different society. And you must have noticed the violation of children's rights even in your country as well. Sometimes we also deprive them of food, clothing, and even their dwelling place. So Amerigo says that sometimes I find work. So even if he wants to do manual work, he fails to find work. I used to collect trash and sell it to a vendor. So that was his first kind of job that he got himself involved. And the job was to collect trash, dirty things, and sell it to a vendor, and selling those things to the vendor. So sometimes even in our country we'll see some children, looking for some materials even in the dustbins. Basically they try to find out some materials, and they also want to sell these things to the vendor, and that's how they make some money. So this passage is, we don't know from which country, or in which country this passage, or the child Amerigo belongs to, or he lives, we don't know. But we can make a kind of comparison between the condition of children of that country. Maybe it is Spain or some European country, or maybe Latin American country. From his name we can gauge that either he is a boy of an European country or of Latin American country. But the situation of that country or situation of children of that country is not good, is not up to the standard. And he says that I used to collect trash and sell it to a vendor. I personally guess that it's a condition of a child of some Latin American country. And you know that in Latin American countries, the people are also, they speak also Spanish and Portuguese. I stopped doing that after I had a serious infection and a doctor told me to stay away from the trash dump. So when he used to collect trash and sell it to a vendor, unfortunately, he had a serious infection because when you get connection or, you have a kind of experience of collecting trash or dirty things from dump, trash dump, naturally there is a kind of probability of getting infected to any kind of disease. So that's exactly happened to Amerigo as well. And the doctor prescribed him, the doctor suggested him to stay away from the dirty things, the trash dump or dustbins. But you understand that it was not possible for Amerigo because that was the only means by means of which he used to survive. Once I worked, so that was the first job. The first job was to collect, trash from the trash dump and selling it to the vendor. And then, what about his second job or second profession? Once I worked for an ice cream shop owner and sold ice cream on the beach. So that was the second profession. He switched to the second profession, shifted himself to the second profession, being suggested by the doctor as he developed a kind of infection while collecting trash from the dustbin or trash dump. So he changed his profession, but his condition didn't change because this profession was also very difficult and painful. You know that he used to work in an ice cream shop and he used to sell ice cream on the beach. I got no money in return. So after doing this job or doing these difficult things, he didn't get any money in return. So why did he continue his job? There was only one reason. The reason was, he tells us in the second sentence, in the next sentence, the owner of the shop gave me something to eat. So that is the reason why Amerigo, continued his job, that he wanted to have something to eat. So that was exactly the only reason Amerigo had to work in that ice cream factory or ice cream shop, that he got something to eat. And let me sleep in his hut at night. And that was the shelter he got from the shop owner, ice cream shop owner. So the ice cream shop owner gave him food, and the ice cream shop owner also gave him some shelter for his sleep. And this is the reason he used to work. The work was difficult and painful. We can easily understand, we can easily gaze that it was a very painful type of job. It was difficult type of job for Amerigo. The ice cream box is quite heavy when it is full. Don't think that the kind of, the way ice cream is being sold nowadays, it's not the way ice cream was being sold in the past. He had to carry the box on his head. So while selling ice cream on the sea beach, he had to carry the box on his head. When we were children, we used to see people or the ice cream seller to carry the box on their head. And at the time, we sometimes also understood that how much pain he had to experience while carrying the box. And not only that, I had to walk for hours offering my ice cream to whoever wanted to buy. So carrying that ice cream box, sometimes he had to walk for hours, several hours, and he had to offer ice cream to people, to the tourists, to the visitors, to the people who used to go to the beach. And there were days when I could not even sell one ice cream. So this is very pathetic. That don't think that he would or he could sell ice cream every time in the same way. Sometimes he had to sell the ice cream or he had to carry the ice cream box throughout the whole day, and he could not even sell a single ice cream. So that is the tragedy, that is the pains or sufferings he had to suffer. The weight of the box is important, and sometimes the failure of Amerigo to sell even a single ice cream throughout the day is the second painful thing for him. But still he had to continue his job. In a way, but still, Amerigo considers himself lucky, even after all these sufferings. Despite all these sufferings, he considers himself happy. Why? Or lucky? I am lucky because I am alive. He says that I am lucky because I am still alive. My friends who work sorting rubbish in dumps often suffer from serious diseases. He compares his own plight with his friends' conditions and situations. And he says that I am rather luckier because I am not sorting rubbish from the dumps, which I used to do in the past. My friends are still doing those things and they are getting infected frequently. So I am lucky compared to my friends. One of them was recently killed after he fell into a hole that opened up in the pile of trash. So he explains, he narrates the tragedy of one of his friends. What happened to that friend? That friend, unfortunately, he fell into a hole, which was a kind of pile of trash, and it was a kind of manhole, you see, and he fell into the hole, and ultimately he died. So comparatively, Amerigo's situation is good because he is still alive and he is not sorting rubbish from the trash dump, and he is alive so far. So he considers himself lucky comparing with his other friends, and one of his friends has already died or met tragic death. Many of us work for 10 to 12 hours. Now, what I said at the beginning, that this passage basically reflects the violation of child labor, the violation of children's rights, I must say. So children's rights is also part of human rights as well. And look, that what kind of job they are involved, what kind of job they are serving. They are either selling the ice cream and the box, or the weight of the ice cream box is heavy, or they are sorting rubbish. So this type of profession is strictly prohibited for children, but still they are doing this. And not only that, look at the working hours. Many of us work for 10 to 12 hours. So this is again violation of children's rights. And they are working for 10 to 12 hours and get so little in return that we cannot even buy food. So even after serving for 10 to 12 hours, they don't get money to buy sufficient food. So this is the situation of children in that particular country, the name of which is not mentioned in this passage, but I have just guessed, but I don't, or I should not say that my guess is right. You can also just guess, but this sort of situation we have also noticed in our own country. So that is why this passage is important, that you can also connect the condition of Amerigo with those type of children who work on the streets, or in whose cases you see violation of children's rights. So this is another profession. Amerigo says shoe shining is very popular among the street kids. So even in Bangladesh, sometimes you will see that the children are involved in this profession, I mean shoe shining. A few of my friends also work in factories and workshops. So he also tells us that some of his friends, they are also working in different factories and workshops. A boy I know lost one of his eyes after a piece of hot glass flew into his eye at the glass factory where he worked. So this is again another tragedy or another pathetic situation we observe. He gives a kind of example of one of his friends whose eye, who lost his eyesight. One of his eye was injured, and he used to work in a glass factory. So when he was working in the glass factory, one of the pieces of glass, it penetrated in his eye, and the eye was injured, and ultimately he lost the sight of that particular eye. So what about the responsibility of the owner of that glass shop? What did he do? The owner refused to pay for medical help and fired him. So very, very tragic. The response of the owner of the glass factory, it was not expected at all. It was really pathetic. He refused to pay money for the for the treatment of Amerigo, and not only that, he also fired him. That means he forced him to go out of the company or go out of the workshop. So he lost his job. The child lost his job. So medical treatment was denied, and he was also fired. So that is the situation of children, Amerigo's friends. For me, like all other children on the street, it is very hard. So again, he is comparing his plight with his friends and with other children. I am always hungry, and I don't know where I will sleep the next night. And he is hungry, he doesn't have sufficient food to eat. And at the same time, he also tells us that he doesn't have any permanent shelter, or he doesn't have any permanent dwelling place, and he doesn't know where to sleep the next night. So a completely shelterless boy. I would like to live in my own home and sleep there in peace. So that is the dream he cherishes to fulfill in his life. So this dream is obviously logical, rational dream. And this dream has been spoken through Amerigo's mouth in order to show the discrimination between the upper class society and children who are working on the streets. That this is a kind of human right, that this is basic human right, that you should have food, you should have shelter to live in. But these human rights have been denied to these sort of children like Amerigo. The nights are very cold in winter. So he is again informing us that how much difficult it is for him to stay outside home in winter, because the nights are very cold. You can die of cold in the street. Not only that, it is so cold outside that the people can also die, the children can also die of the cold. Don't think that the temperature in the European countries or even in the Latin American countries like us, and those countries are still very cooler, the regions are very cooler regions. So there is the possibility of meeting death if the people stay outside their home. So these are the things that Amerigo, these are the difficulties or sufferings that Amerigo suffers on the street. So what have we noticed in this passage? In this passage we have noticed certain things. Firstly, through a particular boy or child, this passage reflects the pains and sufferings of children, children who are involved in manual labors. And this also reflects the inhuman attitude of the society through the ice cream shop owner, or through the vendors, or through other people, that they are not sympathetic to these children. And the comparison between Amerigo and his friends, it also shows that even after suffering, even after experiencing all those pains and difficulties, Amerigo considers himself more fortunate than his friends because he is still alive. Amerigo doesn't have the opportunity to stay with his parents because the parents are also unwilling to keep their child with them. So these are the pains, these are the sufferings, these are the difficulties. So the difficulties come from the family, the difficulties come from the society, the difficulties come from the structure of the society, and all these things make us understand that children's rights are frequently violated in this particular society. So after explaining this passage, I want to go to flowchart writing. And in today's class, in the previous class, I also explained flowchart writing. So how to write or how to prepare a flowchart. I gave you some ideas in the previous class. You already know that when you will prepare a flowchart, you are supposed to write 5 phrases. There will be one example. One example is given, and you have to add 5 more examples in phrases, focusing on the question. The question is very important. You can make phrases, but if the phrases are not relevant to the question, then you will not get marks. And I also discussed other rules regarding flowchart writing in the previous class, so I am not going to repeat those things. So in today's class, I will tell you that there can be more than 5 points which can be used in your answer, and naturally the answer of one student may vary from the answer of another student. So there is no harm, there is no problem in doing that. So it can definitely vary. Some points are closely related to the question, and some points are distantly related to the question. So it's our responsibility to find out points which are closely related to the question. And which example I have used, and what is the question of today's flowchart? The question is, write a flowchart on Amerigo's plight. Plight means very distressed and wretched situation, painful situation. The first one is done for you. Let's take, for example, the first one, his mother being separated from his father, or Amerigo's mother being separated from his father. I remember one thing: if the first letter is in capital form, so when you will prepare the phrases, you will prepare the phrases following my style, or following the style of the question paper. You have to also start every phrase with capital letter, if the example is given in that manner. But if the example is given like this, that the starting alphabet is in small letter, you just continue this, no problem. So his mother being separated from his father, so that also reflects Amerigo's plight, or Amerigo's painful situation. So the next one I have selected, his mother being married to another man. So if mother's separation from father is a tragedy for Amerigo, or if it reflects Amerigo's plight, then the second one that I have selected, it also reflects Amerigo's plight, that his mother being married to another man, because it has added to the already existing plight. His father living very far away and unwilling to take Amerigo. His father living, look, if I use the verb is, if I say his father is living very far away and unwilling to take Amerigo, then it will become a sentence. So what I have done, I have simply written his father living very far away. I have omitted the auxiliary verb. So this is very important. If you use the auxiliary verb, it will straight become a sentence. So don't do that. So his father living very far away and unwilling to take Amerigo. So this also reflects Amerigo's present situation. If you write living very far away and unwilling to take Amerigo, just look at the example that I am discussing. If you write living very far away and unwilling to take Amerigo, it is incomplete. Why incomplete? Because we are talking about Amerigo. So if you use living very far away, it will indicate that Amerigo is living very far away. So if the noun, or if the first word, if it is not the subject of the flowchart, then you have to mention that word. That is why I have used his father, or the phrase. That is why I have used his father. But if living would be directly connected to Amerigo, as I did in the previous phrase, his mother, because his mother indicates Amerigo's mother. His father, so Amerigo's father. So you have to use this, his father, you have to definitely include this. Don't write living very far away and unwilling to take Amerigo, because it will then indicate Amerigo himself. The streets being now his home, the first alphabet D, T will be in small letter. The streets being now his home, collecting trash and selling it to a vendor. Sometimes you must have noticed that I am also, going to different structure of the phrases. So I am not following the same structure of the phrases. I told you in the previous class that it may happen to you as well, that you may feel the necessity of using different structure of the phrases. So there is no harm in doing that, that you may go to different types of phrases, but the phrases have to be relevant to the question. That is important. So having a serious infection, who is having? Amerigo is having a serious infection. So that's why you don't need to mention Amerigo having a serious infection, because we are talking about Amerigo. Working for an ice cream shop owner and selling ice cream on the beach. So again, it reflects Amerigo's present situation or plight, that working for an ice cream shop owner and selling ice cream on the beach. Getting no money in return, it also reflects his present situation and his plight. The work being difficult and painful. So this is also to some extent, again, the T will be in small letter. The work being difficult and painful. But this phrase, I told you at the very beginning that some of the phrases are very closely related to the questions and some of the phrases are not directly related to the questions. I have used, plenty of phrases in today's class, but don't think that you have to write all these phrases as answers. You have to write only 5 phrases. But I wanted to show you that there can be more than 5 phrases as relevant phrases for the answer. There can be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 phrases which can be used for preparing the answer, and the phrases can vary from one student to another student. But you have to write only 5 phrases. We teachers know that these are the relevant phrases. And I also just wanted to make you understand that these are the types of answers which are relevant. Working for hours and offering ice cream. And so, there is a kind of repetition between this phrase and the previous one, working for an ice cream shop owner and selling ice cream on the beach. So when you will select phrase, when you will select only 5 phrases, in that case, it's my suggestion to you, between these 2 phrases, between the one, working for an ice cream shop owner and selling ice cream on the beach, and working for hours and offering ice cream, between these 2 phrases, you just select one and drop one, because these 2 phrases are very close, but both of them are available in the text. That is why I have used them. Being always hungry. So when you will select the phrases, it's always suggested that try to understand that there is no repetition in the phrases, because over here you have plenty of phrases available in your hand. So you can just easily select 5 phrases and you can write those 5 phrases in your answer and drop other phrases. And how you will select those 5 phrases? According to the question, and don't make a repetition, and select those phrases which are directly connected. Now, why I am giving emphasis on flowchart writing, the reason is that flowchart writing, if you just develop ideas about flowchart writing, it will also help you to write summary as well. In one of my next classes, I will also show you, in the previous class, I also showed the summary of a poem, but I have not shown you the summary of prose so far, but I will also show you. And when you will write summary, remember that making phrase and combining different phrases and your idea about clause is also very important. So that's why I am giving so much emphasis on flowchart writing, because it will develop your skill of making phrases. And making phrases is not only important for flowchart writing, making phrases is also important for summary writing and writing of other types. Now, this is all about flowchart writing. Now, we can go to question answer. These questions have been taken from the text. So, in the previous class, I just gave you the questions, but in today's class, I want to share some ideas about you that how we can answer this sort of questions. So look at the questions. What is your impression about Amerigo's parents? So this question, you are to some extent free in this particular question. What was Amerigo's first job? What made him stop doing that job? It's very specific. How is Amerigo's experience of selling ice cream? And then how does Amerigo evaluate his life now? Does he have any option to change it? And finally, what does Amerigo desire now? Should he desire such things? Why or why not? Now let's go to the answers. Look at the first one. The first one is, what is your impression about Amerigo's parents? Amerigo's parents are entirely insincere to their child. After getting separated, they didn't want to bear any responsibility of their child. So look, just you can write in different language. There is no harm. There is no harm. Your language can vary from my language. Obviously, it will vary. So Amerigo's parents are entirely insincere to their child. They have no sincerity. After getting separated, they didn't want to bear any responsibility. You can also say they are completely indifferent to their child. You can omit the word insincere. You can say indifferent to their child. They are completely apathetic to their child. And so you can use any type of word to show the harshness of the parents. So they are harsh to their child. You can also use that. They are cruel to their child. So there are many words available at your hand that you can use. I have just used one word, and I don't claim that my word is the best one. I have also told you the similar type of words that you can use as answer or as synonyms of this word. Look, I have written the answer in 2 sentences. I have not used more than 2 sentences. What was Amerigo's first job? What made him stop doing that job? Collecting and selling trash to a vendor was Amerigo's first job. Very straightforward answer. A serious infection made him stop doing that job. So look at the type of answer, look at the style of answering question that I am trying to answer in a very straightforward manner. How is Amerigo's experience of selling ice cream? Amerigo's experience of selling ice cream is difficult and painful. So I am just giving the answer to fulfill the requirement of the question. I am not trying to lengthen it. I am not trying to make the length, bigger or larger. He had to work for hours carrying a heavy box of ice cream. On some days, he could not even sell a single ice cream. So I have used 3 sentences over here, but the sentences are very brief. I have not used long sentences. So this is how you can also prepare your answer. That you just remember one thing, that when answering the questions, don't try to make it larger. Don't try to make it bigger. Your number of words of answer will not have you more marks. What will help you to get more marks? If you can answer the questions appropriately, if you can answer the questions properly, then you will get good marks. How did Amerigo evaluate his life now? Does he have any option to change it? Amerigo evaluates his life as painful and difficult because he is always hungry and doesn't have any place to sleep. He does not have any option to change it. Does he have any option to change it? Now, there is a question that I also frequently think, that how does Amerigo evaluate his life now? I have said Amerigo evaluates his life as painful and difficult because he is always hungry and does not have any place to sleep. But if a student says that Amerigo evaluates himself to some extent fortunate, comparing his situation with his friend's condition, I personally think that you deserve marks in that case as well. Because Amerigo evaluates his situation in 2 ways. Firstly, he considers himself, his situation or his life as painful and difficult. It's true. But at one position of the passage, he also tells us that he considers himself to some extent fortunate. So if you write that, I personally feel that you deserve marks. And the second part of the question, does he have any option to change it? Does Amerigo have any option to change his situation? He doesn't have any option to change it, because that even when the passage ends, we don't see the ray of hope, because there is no possibility, or there is no assurance from the society, or there is no assurance from the state. In this particular passage, we have not seen that there is possibility for Amerigo to change his situation. What does Amerigo desire now? Should he desire such things? Why or why not? Amerigo desires to live in his own house and sleep there in peace. So that is his desire. Amerigo wants to live in his own house, and he wants to sleep there in peace. So naturally, a person can desire that. He should desire such things because he has the right to do so as a human being. You know, Amerigo is also a human being. He's a child. So doesn't he have the right to desire to sleep in his own house in peace? Definitely, he has got the right. So, dear students, when I discussed these question answers, you must have noticed one thing, that my way of answering the questions was very straightforward. And I didn't use anything which is unnecessary. And when you will also answer the questions, don't think that I am telling you to follow my language. I am just telling you that this can be the style that you can follow. You can use your own language. You can use your own vocabulary. You can use the synonyms of these words. You can use a different structure to indicate what I wanted to convey in these answers. But your answer has to be very precise. Your answer has to be very brief and very straightforward. And you know that each question carries 2 marks only. So if you make it bigger, so what will happen? There is always the possibility of repetition, and there is always the possibility of copying from the text. So please try to avoid these things when you write the questions. Now, after discussing all these things, I want to know that if you have got any question, if you have got any opinion or anything to add what I said, then I want to go to the comment box and I want to see what kind of questions you have. Then I will try to answer if you have got any questions. So we are going to the comment box. So in the comment box, I see that the students are present. It's true, but probably you, so far I have not seen any query. So over here, I don't, how long the answers can, okay. So Muhammad Saleh Al Mafi probably. So the student asks that how long the answers can be. That means I understand that you are asking about the length of the answer. I have already said that it's better to answer the question in 2 sentences, it's better. But there are some questions which may require 3 or 4 sentences, but these are exceptional cases. Usually, you can answer the question in 2 sentences, that is standard, unless it is exception. And I am repeatedly telling you one thing, don't try to make the answers bigger unnecessarily. So I don't find many questions in the your query in the comment box. So I think that what I said, you understood what I wanted to mean, what I wanted to convey in today's class. And just I am trying to recap what I said. I explained the lesson, and I also made you practice flowchart writing. At the same time, I said that flowchart writing is important not only for flowchart writing itself, but also for summary writing as well, because when you practice flowchart writing, you are basically practicing making phrase as well, and making phrase is necessary in different types of tasks. And after that, I also discussed question answer writing. So with these things, I want to conclude today's class, and in next class, I will explain another lesson, and I hope that you will also attend that class as well. So thank you very much. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you again.